Morning from Fort Canning Park. It's at the top of, not the top of Singapore, there isn't one, but it's an old British fort in the middle of Singapore. It's actually where the British surrendered to the Japanese in 1942. Amazing place. Anyway, just wanted to talk about comparison and why it's bad for you. And this is quite an obvious one, right? Because I think we all know that comparing yourself to others is not healthy. So why do people do it? So I'm currently in Singapore, most expensive place in the world to live. Used to live here, yada yada yada. But the point being, here you really feel as a Westerner, I feel extremely poor. Like there's wealth everywhere. I'm not a rich man, I'm not a poor man, but in all relative terms, compared to most people on the planet, I'm well off. I'll be in the top, 5-10% of people on the planet, maybe top 2 or 3%, who knows. So there's people around, I mean, everywhere is Bentleys and Ferraris and Porsches, and you know, that's just life. And what do I feel when I see people with a lot of money? Nothing, because you know, yes, it would be nice to have more money. It's always nice. Everyone probably wants more money, let's be honest, because it's safety. And safety means you don't have to worry about going to work. You don't have to worry about if you get made redundant, etc., etc., etc. So let's just assume that's the case, right? Even for people who are highly spiritual, we all probably would like more money. So what happens if you're not going to achieve it? I'm getting to a point in my life where it's getting very difficult in many ways to, you know, consider myself employable. So you kind of have to work for yourself. I meet a lot of guys in middle age who have lost their job or have had enough of it, taken retirement, and you won't get a job. Most people won't get a job unless you're a CEO or senior director. Most people will just fall away from the job market in their 50s and 60s and do something else. So, you know, comparing yourself on the basis of wealth is a pointless, futile exercise, because we all know there'll be people with more money, less money, and yet as human beings we look at other people, and on Instagram we look at people in Bentleys and we think, oh gosh, they must have such a great life and a big house. And maybe they do, right? This is not here to say that people shouldn't do these things, and I totally respect people who've worked hard and have earned money and are employing it in a way that they want to and making them happy. That's not the point. The point is that when you feel comparisons, and maybe this is not about money, right? Maybe this is about that pretty girl in school or that handsome rugby player who gets all the girls, Jeremy. It's a good friend of mine. You know, whatever you compare yourself to, and I think we all do it. We look at the photos, we think, oh, wish this could be a bit six-packy, you know, and we give ourselves a hard time. We think, why don't we have that perfect Instagram life? And I think the simple fact is that that's all bollocks, and we all know that. The simple fact that you live in your head 24 hours a day when you're not asleep, and the comparisons, the stories that we tell ourselves, are you worth it? Do you believe, strip away all the Instagram, all the cars, the houses, the safety, the money, the restaurants, the clothes, the wife, the husband, the photos of yourself in Ibiza, sitting around a table drinking wine, living your YOLO. Take away all that shit, all that drivel, you know, of pretending to the world that you have made it and you're happy because you're doing these things that society says we should be doing. You sit there on your own in a park or in your bedroom on your own with your phone off. How do you feel? You go away for the day and walk around a field. Spend 2 days without your phone. How do you feel? Take those clothes away from you. Remove that car. lose that house, what are you feeling? And comparison is the humans, it probably creates aspiration, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because it forces people to level up. But comparison coming from jealousy and envy and greed, nothing comes without some hard work, whether it's work or a good body and a good mind. Nothing comes. Happiness doesn't come because you buy it. It doesn't just arrive. It comes from hard work. It comes from, like this dude, getting up, running, putting the hours in, making yourself feel good. And it comes from giving yourselves achievements. It comes from achieving things that are difficult. Whether it's your A-levels, Charlie, whether it's starting a company, whether it's getting that promotion, whether it's making a relationship work, it's about being the best version of yourself so you can give yourself a decent chance of feeling proud about yourself. That's the point. Wherever it comes from, that gratification comes from hard work and achieving things for yourself, not by being given them. Any fool can be given money and drive down Bond Street, Oxford Street, Orchard Road in a Ferrari that daddy's given to them, right? Any fool can do that. You won't be happy from being gifted anything in life, whether it's a muscle, your mental health, or anything else, or material possessions. So comparison is really for people who feel lack. It's for people who are lacking something in their own self-worth, I would argue. And therefore they look for external validation and substitute it with things that we all know are irrelevant. Maybe that's womanizing for a lot of men because it gives them that ego boost. And let's not pretend that doesn't happen. Maybe that's the same for women. I don't know, I'm not a woman. Maybe it's drink and drugs. Maybe it's self-sabotage. We tend to fill our lives where there's holes with short-term pleasure. And we don't want to put the long-term graft in. We don't want to look ourselves in the mirror. We don't want to take responsibility because we can cover it and mirror it with short-term bollocks. And that's the easy route out. Or we can blame other people for our pain. We can go around and be a victim because simply that's just avoids us having to look at ourselves and what we're responsible for. And it's easy to blame the world and everyone else, isn't it? Again, that kind of loops back to comparison a little bit. You compare yourself to people. Why don't I have that? Well, everybody's got more than everyone else. It's just life. It's just not fair. And the only reason I'm able to sit and talk about this is because I'm white. I was born in the UK and I'm privileged. I was born into privilege by being born white in the United Kingdom. I have average intelligence and fairly average skills, I would argue. So why do I get to be in the top 1, 2, 3% of wealth? Well, most of it is inherited in terms of the place I was born. So, in all saying and all doing, just realize that even if you think you're smashing it at work on big bang buck and whatever that means, and you think you're doing well materialistically, that is fine and great and I applaud you. Just remember that most of that is because of luck of where you were born, and most of the things that you're striving to do should be internal and not extrinsic, and that means doing things that are hard, that give you self-worth. So when everything else falls away, you still have that, you're proud of yourself, etc. So I hope that's useful. Don't compare yourself to others. Live your own values. Realize that everything's relative, and everything is about you taking responsibility for you and being a better person than you were yesterday. That old cliche. Comparison is for people who are seeking extrinsic validation from things that society tells you makes you successful. Don't do it. Realize that most people, right, haven't met a person on earth, regardless of creed, color, wealth, background, done a lot of traveling, haven't met a person on earth who's spiritually and emotionally fulfilled on the basis of the fact of how much money they've got in the bank. It comes from a satisfaction that you're at peace with yourself, proud of yourself, you're able to speak truthfully, you have nothing, you've done the work, you have nothing to be ashamed of, you know who you are, and you're living a life that is true to you, right? That's the main thing. If you're living a life that's true to you, and that means you do the things that you believe are important, you spend time with people that you are nourished by, you say the things that you believe are important, you harness that energy and spirituality with people that are on your wavelength, and you're accepting of your failings and flaws, you're trying to remove ego, you're accountable, responsible. That kind of life, that's life of self-awareness, realizing that you are on a journey of self-improvement and having an open and free mind. That is what's important. So don't compare yourself to anyone else, compare yourself to what you want to be.